The free market implies that man's greatest virtue is to trade with such ferocity that he starves his neighbors to build a storehouse. Trade should simply serve child rearing and state security. Fortune should be in service to something. Banger. Banger. Yeah, if you run the free market simulator, if you just like if you think of it as like a video game and you're just gonna let it run and let it what would you say, like it begins developing recursive loops with itself, so it starts accelerating, then what is it going to run to? Well, it's going to run to this, where every person has the obligation to maximize their own system, which is trade with such ferocity that your neighbors are starved and you've built up a great storehouse. This isn't like an anti rich people thing. This is like basic human behavior. Imagine a government, or imagine a conception of a ruling institution where they exercise sovereignty over a particular domain, and they lay down the laws for how that domain is going to be governed, and then people who want to come and participate or act within that domain who are not within that domain have to pay for it. There's a cover charge. And the expectation is this mediating authority is going to accumulate that cover charge and then deploy it for the betterment of the people within the domain of the sovereign. That's all tariffs are. Tariffs are the sovereign protecting the territory from outsiders. Tariffs are a wall, the same way that you would have a wall for people, you have a wall for money, goods. There's still the possibility of moving beyond the wall, but you have to follow certain constraints, and it's going to cost you something. And the more valuable your domain is, the higher the wall, the bigger the charge. This is why, incidentally, this is why free trade and the free movement of peoples are inevitably joined at the hip. If you want free movement of peoples, drive free trade. If you want free trade, drive the free movement of peoples. These are the same thing. The immigration problem and the trade problem are the same problem. They're born out of the same foundational assumptions about the organization, the hierarchical structure of society. So in this case, this public-private partnership, think about the mechanics of what's happening here. It's quotidian to the point of utterly mundane in American society to have the federal government provide capital for businesses, for organizations, for structures, whether it's in the form of grants or subsidies or, constraining the market such that access to capital is maintained at a certain price point that is favorable to different institutions. These are all forms of the federal government granting capital to these corporations and NGOs and whatever else. Structuring it as a 50-50 partnership doesn't change the fact that the capital is being allocated. It's just putting a different, it's recording it differently in the ledger and establishing a different baseline incentive structure. Because now this is not just funneling money into a black hole. This is a mutual co-investment with strings attached. Now, ultimately, all of these things, you can't just engineer the perfect thing where then it's just all perfect and great. And it's always going to come back to the quality of the leadership. You can never get around that fact. So yeah, a 50-50 public-private partnership in some major company, whether done informally in the form of subsidies or grants or regulatory capture, legislative carve-outs, whether it's done informally that way, I'm calling that informally, or formally in the form of a public-private partnership declared as such, the same fundamental transaction is happening in terms of the allocation of resources, but the incentive structure of it changes.